Returning to one of our top stories, Governor Malloy presented his budget to state lawmakers today, detailing a new vision for funding education. He wants to change the so-called cost-sharing formula for towns and cities to make it, in his words, more equitable.
For the first time in more than a decade, the formula counts current enrollment. We will stop reimbursing communities for students that they no longer have in the classroom. The new formula also uses a more accurate measure of wealth by using the equalized net grand list and a better measure of student poverty, allowing the state to direct support to communities with higher concentrations of poverty.
And that's not all. In these challenging economic times for state government, the governor wants communities to start picking up some of the cost of teachers' pensions.
Teachers' retirement pension system has always been funded without any contribution from towns and cities. But this year, as we continue making cuts to state services, and as we ask state employees to find more savings, we need towns to begin sharing the cost of their employees' pensions.
Well, joining us now with reaction, Joseph Cirasuolo, who heads the Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents. And we are talking about major changes here, particularly for the suburbs, which are kind of up against a double whammy. They lose money from the state.
That's correct.
And they have to pick up a portion, and I'm hearing 1/3 of funding the teachers' pensions.
Right.
Talk about that.
Well, it's going to have a very negative effect on the programs that children will receive in those school districts. Mm-hmm. We're looking at figures that are 13 million someplace, 14 million other places. There's no way that's going to be paid for by the municipality without a negative effect on the school board budget. Mm-hmm. So what's at risk here when you're talking about the school boards? You're looking at things like all-day kindergarten being looked at, maybe go back to half-day. You're looking at a lot of support services for kids who have needs. Because just because you're in a town that's wealthy doesn't mean you don't have children who have special needs. You have poor children in those towns as well. You're looking at extracurricular activities are going to be looked at, some curricular activities. The end result will be that even in the cities across the state, if this proposal goes forward, we will have less of an educational program for the kids in the state of Connecticut.
All right. The governor pointed out that the state would track enrollment in this new cost-sharing formula, which I guess sounds smart. How is that different from the way things are done now, and what do you think would be the result?
Well, tracking enrollment makes sense. The state government, even under his watch, hasn't done that all the time. It makes sense to have the allocation be based on the number of kids. Now, that will have an effect depending on whether your enrollment is going up and going down. But if the overall amount of money doesn't go up per kid, even if you have declining enrollment, you're going to have some difficulties.
All right, so on pensions, on teacher pensions, the governor gave an example, and we have a graphic to take here. Kyle, once you bring that up for us. This is an example of the disparity in the current fiscal year. The state spending $24 million in Greenwich on pension costs, which has 8,800 students, versus $18 million to New Britain, which has 10,000 students, less money, but more students. Salaries and benefits much higher in Greenwich. Right. Your reaction to that example?
Well, salaries and benefits are a result of collective bargaining. And the collective bargaining rules are set by state law. And take Greenwich. When Greenwich has to go into negotiations with their teachers' unions, the end result can be binding arbitration. If you go before the arbitrator, one of the major things they're going to look at is what are other districts of your wealth size doing for their teachers. So even if Greenwich wants to cut down their salaries, the system doesn't allow them to do that. What the governor is pointing out is a symptom of a situation, not the cause of what I think he's trying to get at.
Okay, so it sounds like we have enormous challenges ahead in this state figuring out a way to fund education.
Absolutely. It's going to be very difficult.
All right, Joseph Cirasuolo with the Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents. Right. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.